Scotland really needs an industrial strategy, but absolutely not the one Humza Yousaf is talking about here.
Because the meetings that I've had throughout the entire course of yesterday with some of the biggest investors in the world, and many of them have a footprint in Scotland already, or BlackRock's, JP Morgan's, Morgan Stanley's, Barclays, all big investors globally, and all of them have an interest in investing in Scotland due to the climate renewable potential.
Or here, for that matter.
What we've also said, and this is something the Scottish Government under the SNP I don't think has said before this budget, is we're going to have to look at the size of the public sector in Scotland. We're going to have to think about how we begin to make efficiencies and reduce the size and the scale of the public sector. So
Listen, I don't make a habit of watching Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart's podcast, but this interview should raise alarm bells, because if this is the First Minister's strategy, then Scotland's workers and communities are systematically having power stripped from them under the guise of the just transition. The meetings Humza Yousaf's talking about were jointly organised with the City of London Corporation to showcase Scotland's world-class financial services and discuss the shared priority of green finance. It's often said that politicians aren't moving quickly enough on climate policy. The truth in Scotland is they are moving quickly, but only to future-proof the economy for big business. In January 2023, the Scottish Government announced Scotland's first green free ports. These deregulated playgrounds for private capital will offer multinational corporations the opportunity to slash workers' wages and conditions. 6 months later, we learned that Glasgow and Aberdeen were to become Scottish investment zones, entitling each area to £80 million worth of tax relief and other incentives. Having rolled over for big business, the Scottish Government have ensured that swathes of Scotland are effectively under special measures. That's where listening to Barclays and BlackRock gets you. Back in November, we learnt that Petro-Ineos were going to shut Grangemouth, which is in the Freeport zone, by 2025. Their decision was simple. Profit margins would be greater if they moved business abroad. 500 jobs were immediately put at risk, employment prospects for future generations disappeared, and the local economy thrown into uncertainty. That's certainly not a just transition, and it's a pattern which is all too familiar. The future of Petro-Ineos employees and their community has been left to the whim of multinational corporations. Politicians are powerless to influence the decision of Britain's richest man, Jim Ratcliffe, who'd sooner confirm his stake in Man United than a future for his workers. A just transition worthy of the name will require democratisation of the economy, long-term industrial strategy and detailed diversification plans for sites like Grangemouth. Humza Yousaf is talking about the exact opposite. Long-term economic thinking, or proper engagement with workers and their trade unions, simply does not happen when the transition is outsourced to private sector actors whose primary obligation will always be to their shareholders.